A lot of people say that this game was basically a way for Davey Wreden to blast his critics, and well, there's merit to that interpretation.
I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable. And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself.
But to the people who say that, I kind of think you missed the entire point of the game. You know, the message that we can't determine who the author is or even what their intentions were in creating it through the work itself. Remember, this game tells us more about ourselves than the characters within. What we see behind the scenes all depends on who we are, and what we prescribe importance to mostly depends on us. I mean, we can gauge at hints here and there. One of the books on the shelf in the house cleaning game is The Orchid Thief. The book itself actually isn't important, but it stars in a movie called Adaptation, period. The film is about a fictionalized version of the screenwriter as he tries to write an adaptation of the book. The screenwriter of the movie has a twin brother, but the real-world Kaufman, the screenwriter, has no such twin brother. One of the most common interpretations of this game is that Davey and Coda are the same exact person. Well, sort of. The interpretation is that Coda is the creative muse that gives Davey all kinds of crazy and weird ideas, while the Davey persona is the one that edits things down and makes things more playable. There's definitely merit to that, as towards the end, Davey talks like he's someone who's lost his muse, and some of the lines in Mobius Trip do seem to clarify that further.
And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing.
Do I think that? Not really. I mean, Davey told other people that Coda was depressed, and I don't think anyone does that to other aspects of the personality. Davey states that there was a time before he knew Coda and that he outright met Coda somewhere. Davey had to get the final game in an email, little stuff like that. But it's not like I don't find any merit at all in that interpretation. I mean, Coda seems to be more like a mirror for the entire game. From what I can tell, what you get out of Coda is what you put in. It's very apparent that the Davey of the game is creatively frustrated, someone who has lost their muse. We see our own problems in Coda, and Davey saw his. And when Coda was no longer there, Davey had to face himself. Despite the entire game being about Coda, we only really learn about Davey. All we really know about Coda is that he or she made games in the late 2000s. I mean, we could take a guess about Coda. For example, the name Coda. The very icon of the game shows a musical coda. In music, a coda brings a musical piece to an end. It expresses conclusion. The phrase goes like this: the death of the author is the birth of the reader. Hell, the game is even called The Beginner's Guide. Those who firmly believe in the death of the author believe that creative works aren't meant to be made. They're meant to be experienced. Books aren't made to be written. They're made to be read. Art isn't made to be drawn, it's made to be looked at. Video games aren't meant to be programmed, they're meant to be played. But the game deconstructs this, as most of Coda's games were not meant to be played at all. According to Davey at least, Coda spent all of this time building up a game and then leaving it on a hard drive where it would never be played by anyone. Possibly not even by Coda himself. I mean, even if you see the hallways in the puzzle level, there are no way to access them. Davey has a hard time figuring out why anyone would spend so much time making a creative work if no one ever gets to experience it. And the game seems to take out both sides of death of the author. Davey's behavior got worse and worse because Coda never told him what anything meant. I mean, a lot of people will create random nonsense and say that it's up to interpretation just to cop out. We've all watched a movie or read a book or played a game like that. The entirety of The Beginner's Guide could be like this. Nonsense sake for nonsense sake. But honestly, why it was made and the original purpose doesn't really matter. You know, it's kind of the point of the game. I know that there's a lot more to talk about, but I've been at it for 30 minutes, and you need to cut it short at some point. This was fun. Next time, I'll be back to my regularly scheduled stuff. It's been an eventful April, and considering the response, I'll probably do this again once in a while. But next time, I'll be doing this with something a little bit more straightforward.